Hi there, how are you today? Do you ever get an idea for a project that has no use whatsoever, but you just can't get it out of your head? Well, I have plenty of those, and I found that the best way to deal with them is to just get them done. And if I'm going to make it anyway, I might as well share it with you. So, a while ago I got intrigued by these visualizations. I don't really know what to call them, but they are basically line patterns like this. And despite being simple lines, they give the illusion of depth. I didn't find many examples of it online, but I was curious to see what they would look like when they were based on a height map. So my first reaction was to create a Python script that uses a height map as input. And then the script would just have to go over it row by row and draw a line corresponding to the height shown in the image. I'll show the code on the screen now. This already gave some nice results, but there still were some major issues that made it not fun to use. Changing the image source or parameters had to be done in the code itself or in the command line at best. Not really user-friendly, as you can imagine. Additionally, creating the visualization can take minutes depending on the size of the height map image or its parameters. But what really made me want to
chuck it in the bin
was the fact that you have to find the height map image of the area you want to show. This was a real pain, and that's how far the project got. But recently I have been watching a lot of videos from the coding train. If you have any interest in creative coding or responsive visualizations and animations, his channel is a must. In most of his videos he uses the P5 library in Javascript, and seeing what you can do with it got me interested in those lines again. Especially because in JavaScript you can make everything so much more interactive. On top of that, I had the idea to add a map to the window, so you can choose any region you want to show. Compared to the Python script, that's about as user-friendly as you can make it. So here is the structure I had in mind. First, you can select a region on the map. Next, you have a range of attributes you can change that determine what your image would look like. Attributes like how many lines it should draw, the color, the thickness of the lines, and so on. Then, somehow, the code should fetch the height values and draw the lines similarly as the Python script did. For selecting a region on a map, I use Leaflet. It's an amazing JavaScript module with a plugin for almost anything you can imagine. But all it does here is show a simple base map, and when you draw a rectangle on it, it triggers the image to get new data and redraw the lines. Okay, then you have a region. But the question remains, how do you get height data automatically? So I have been looking around for available services and came across the Open Elevation API. Although it is very easy to use, it was still quite slow considering the number of requests I was going to need for a full image. I also considered hosting the service myself locally, but there is no way I was going to download the 200 gigabytes of global height data it needs. What I ended up using is Elevation API. It's very cheap to get very high resolution data, even up to 5 meters, but the free version already provides more than enough for this project. That's why there is the option to add your own API key if you want to make use of the full potential of the Elevation API. So remember the rectangle we drew on the map? Well, we can subdivide it in lines and then in points based on the parameters that are entered. Then all we have to do is get the coordinates of these points and ask the API what elevation these points are. Great, so now we can choose any region in the world and get the height values we need. All that's left to do is draw the lines. Don't worry, this won't be a P5 tutorial. For that you have to take the coding train. But in P5 you simply give the command to draw a line between 2 points. So it's a matter of looping through the points and drawing each line segment. When you look into the code, you might spot that I use Scribble to draw the lines. This is a library that you can easily add on top of P5 to give it a more sketch-like look. That's about all there is to it. I added some more parameters for fun, so you can control how sketchy the lines are, how exaggerated the height is, and whether it should draw lines at sea level. I will definitely share the source code online so you can play with it as well. And if you have any idea about how this could be useful, please let me know. That's it. I hope you liked it, and I'll see you next time.